All right, YouTube, welcome back to a new segment of our show where I just sit in front of the camera and I ramble about whatever it is that I want to ramble about. Now, before we get into today's video, if you are a listener of our podcast, our main show, just want to give you a heads up that we are going to be releasing a new one here pretty soon. Hopefully, this weekend is when we'll record it, although I'm not going to make any promises. It's just if we're lucky, it's going to happen this weekend, and you should be on the lookout for that one here pretty soon. Now, I want to get into a subject that I've had on my mind recently, which is the narcissism of conspiracy theorists. Now, when I say narcissism, I'm not talking about the clinical psychology sense of the word, right? I'm talking more about the colloquial sense of the word that's used in everyday language, where it just means that somebody thinks that they're better than everybody else, smarter than anybody else, that sort of thing. And when I say conspiracy theorist, I'm aware that there is a conspiracy theory about the word conspiracy theory, where when you label something as a conspiracy theory, it's a little bit like poisoning the well. But unfortunately, there's just not a better term for me to use than just calling it what it is, which is conspiracy theory. It's a phrase that everybody's familiar with, so that's what I'm going to use. So anyway, what I want to talk about is the narcissism of conspiracy theorists. Now, when I talk about, or when I say conspiracy theorist, I'm not talking about the people who believe in one conspiracy or two or three. I'm talking about the people who believe in all or nearly all of the main ones, right? Anything from, the moon landing was faked, or the 9/11 was, you know, was a conspiracy, which I guess it was, either way you look at it. JFK assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't the main guy, right? We're talking about people who believe in every single one of these things, or most of them. So when you think about the average person, I think the average person believes in at least one, right? So I'm not talking about you if you believe in one or just a couple. That's fine. I think that's healthy. But the people who I'm really talking about are the kinds of people like Dale from King of the Hill, who believe that everything bad that happens is something that's been orchestrated from the top down by some shadowy cabal of people who control every aspect of our society. And they're the ones who are privy enough to this information. They're the ones who are smart enough to know about this information, and everybody else is just sheeple. And I think these people in general are very full of themselves because they don't arrive at these conclusions usually necessarily on their own. They don't actually take the time to think about it. They know what the average person believes, and then they just reject that in favor of whatever alternative explanation is out there, just so that they can feel like they're superior to the average person. It's not necessarily because they arrived at these conclusions on their own. It's that they've rejected what everybody else thinks because they want to feel smarter than everybody else, right? So let's take into consideration, just as an example, the conspiracy around the moon landing, right? There are people who believe that we faked the moon landing, right? That the Apollo missions were faked, and that Stanley Kubrick helped orchestrate it, or whatever the conspiracy theory is, right? Now, these people typically are not going to come up with very viable explanations for why we have mirrors on the surface of the moon that we use to shoot lasers at, right? And these mirrors have been up there since the 60s, and we use them to measure the distance between the Earth and the moon. And as it turns out, the moon is slowly escaping the Earth's orbit. or escaping the Earth's gravitational pull. I think the moon is drifting away from the Earth at about an inch a year or something like that, just a very minuscule amount. But it's like I said, it's not that these people believe this stuff necessarily because they've actually picked everything apart and they've done their own research and that sort of thing. What they normally do is that they will latch on to what some other conspiracy theory person says, whatever BS that they regurgitate, and then they just adopt that person's position as their own. Because, like I said, it's the position that the quote unquote normies don't take, so then therefore that's the position that they want to take. Because if they believe, if they feel privy to information that most other people are not privy to, that makes them feel smart. That makes them feel special, and it makes them feel better than everybody else. Now, I think that's pretty much the gist of what I want to talk about today. Now, I think everybody or most people out there know somebody like this in your life. If you're listening to this show, maybe this person is you. Now, if this person is you and you believe in every conspiracy theory out there, like for example, you believe that the earth is flat and that NASA is just hiding the truth for whatever reason, I think what you should really do is question yourself and take a deep look in the mirror and ask yourself, do you believe this stuff because you think the logic is sound and that you arrived at this position on your own? Or is your belief rooted in narcissism? Are you trying to just feel better than everybody else because you believe in something that the quote unquote sheeple don't believe? That's basically all I wanted to talk about today. So, give me your thoughts in the comments below. Is this person you? Do you think that I'm missing something here? Let me know in the comments, but that's all for today.